comunidad de EHPlus. Hoy voy a entrevistar al ex vicepresidente Michael Ashwin Adhin, quien aspira a la candidatura presidencial de su país, Surinam.
Yes.
Hola, señor Adhin, ¿cómo se siente?
I'm fine. I think I'm here in the Dominican Republic, and it gives a good feeling. Seems like home, and I've learned so much that our people are actually similar, and that gives me a very good feeling here in the Dominican Republic.
Es su primera vez en República Dominicana, ¿cierto?
Yes, this is my first time, and let me say the impression that I get is that it is a great country, great people, and I hope that we could have a good exchange and collaboration with the Dominican Republic as Surinam.
Usted está corriendo ahora en su país como candidato a la presidencia con el nuevo parlamento. ¿Es correcto?
Yes, though we have a parliamentary system, we don't have a presidential election. So you select all the members of parliament. There's 51 seats that people can choose. So after that, you choose these people, then parliament again chooses a president and a vice president.
¿Qué planes usted tendría o ha pensado para el sector de energía e hidrocarburos en su país si usted fuese finalmente electo presidente?
So Surinam has about 550 megawatts of energy capacity, and about 64%, that should be 340 megawatts, is hydrocarbon. And that means high fossil fuel, high fossil oil, heavy fuel oil, and of course those are the very important for us because that is actually more generation from hydrocarbons than we have hydro energy. So we have a dam, we have about a capacity of about 190 megawatts, but the heavy fuel oil is very important for us. So in the future, we can expect to develop the block 58 and other blocks in our offshore region from Surinam. That will start in 2028. We just signed a final investment decision with Total Energies. That means our state oil company signed with Total Energies. We have StaatSolie, that is our state oil company. And we signed a good deal in which 20% is Surinamese production part. And when we start this, you can expect this heavy fuel oil to have to be produced or exported or refined in any way. So in that sense, there are options. I think with the Dominican Republic, how can we look at what we can do together to develop this 20% of Surinam? And of course, we have gas also. So LNG is very important. For us, it can bring an energy capacity for at least 200 to 500 megawatts extra. That means doubling what we have now. In any sense, we need to expand the amount of energy. Surinam will be in development after the income that we get from this oil development. So the hydrocarbons are very important for energy, the expansion, be it gas or the income and HFO, because we use in generation right now already more than 340 megawatts of generation through HFO and diesel with generators. It stays important.
O sea que su experiencia como ingeniero eléctrico que es, le ha servido mucho para conocer bien las debilidades y las fortalezas que tienen ustedes en el país en esos dos sectores.
So my background is an electrical engineer.
O sea que esta profesión le sirvió a usted para adentrarse bien y conocer.
Yeah, so as an engineer, actually I'm an electrical engineer. I'm also telecommunication engineer. So as an engineer, you want to solve problems. That's what engineers do. They see a problem, then they want to solve a problem. I have always been for bringing structure and added value to people, the structures, structuring things, organizing things. And right now I see that the structure of production and the structure of the economy is not what it should be to facilitate what is coming as the development of the oil in 2028. So as an engineer, when you look at things, you say, this is not structured, not good enough. I have to fix it as an engineer. And of course, we are talking about energy. I'm talking about electrical engineer. As an engineer, you're busy with energy, you're busy with telecommunication. So it is within my field of expertise. This whole energy sector, of course, is within my field of expertise. So I'm happy to be able to contribute what I know and what I feel that should happen for the next.
Entonces, ¿qué le faltaría a su país para desarrollarse más en el área de energía y hidrocarburos, viendo que usted tiene vasto conocimiento en los dos sectores?
Yes, this is a very good question. At least to facilitate investment, you have to be able to give investors the chance to have benefits. Industrial parks, free trade zones come to mind. And when you look at the Dominican Republic, we have good examples here of how it is done. Of course, we have the state-owned company, and that has to be fostered as much as possible. We have an experience of more than 40 years because we started in the 1980s with our own state-owned company. So in the region, we have a benefit that we have advanced very fast, we have learned very fast. So we know the oil business. We know the oil business very well. And so we need to foster that we have expertise, build more expertise. That is very important because if this income comes from oil and this development comes, you can overheat the economy. We don't want to fall in what we call the resource curse. We call it the Dutch disease. When you have a lot of resources, a lot of income, and then you don't know what to do with it, and actually you get appreciation of your own currency, and things become very expensive to export, and then you're not competitive. All kinds of problems. You have labor problems because everybody moves towards oil. And what about agriculture? What about tourism that we have? These can be detrimental to those areas. So we have to make expertise come. We have to know now how to plan for the expertise so that we don't get problems in the oil industry. That's how we prepare. We have to get industrial parks to see how we can facilitate maybe a petrochemical industry to get the urea for the agricultural side of rice because we have a good rice sector. So all these things fit together. But we have to be well prepared, and a lot of aspects that I can talk about how to prepare for this.
¿Y con cuáles países usted visualiza que pudiera tener una buena relación comercial, diplomática, entre países, colaboraciones, lo que sea factible para ustedes y para el país que usted tenga en la cabeza acercarse?
Yeah, of course, you see that since Guyana is there, as a neighbor, we have a good relation with Guyana. We have to strengthen that because they are now in development, and you see the multiplier effect, the spin-off of the sector, hotels, apartments, and how they go about this because they are 5 years ahead of us in the development sector, while our expertise is 40 years ahead because we started in 1980 with an old state-owned company. So we have to see how that fits with Guyana. So Guyana is a very important partner for us in this. But when I look at the other countries, and since I've come to Dominican Republic, and Dominican Republic is expanding in renewable energy, 330 megawatts I just went to. Interenergy, for example, and other energy companies here. So you are expanding so much. Locally, you have international experience. Then I come here and I got to know the people. I got to know the industry. I see that economic-wise, trade-wise, we have a good trade relation with the US, so we have good trade. But the Dominican Republic is very near to us, and it has the distance also logistically is near to us. So when it comes to trade, when it comes to oil, it will be very good to have good relations with the Dominican Republic to see how we can exchange knowledge on this industry, oil, gas, how we can promote more trade in the region, of course. Suriname has to develop their agricultural product. So any agricultural product that you would need and for us to expand the volume to be able to trade with you would be very beneficial for Suriname. You're not only thinking about oil and gas, you're thinking about the exchange of knowledge. I just talked about the industry part. You will be needing agricultural products here. So in that exchange, we strengthen the bonds between the countries. In any sense, right? Trade, education, oil and gas, even tourism. You have a very, very strong tourism sector promotion that you've been, and I was impressed by the way you attracted the tourists. I think we need that model in Suriname also. We have blue beaches, but we have brown water in the interiors. But the way you promote and brand is very interesting. And you have been putting a lot of energy in that, and we want to use that experience as well.
En todo este tiempo, luego usted fue vicepresidente, ¿qué aprendió de esa experiencia? ¿Qué usted repetiría y qué no?
Yes, I think that you learn so much in the role as vice president, also as acting president, from time to time, especially in the discussion of economic crisis, leading in crisis management. The COVID I also led as crisis manager. So in such a pandemic situation, you try to lead also the diplomatic relations missions. So all that experience has just added to my view of how we should collaborate in the geopolitical sphere. Understanding the relations is also important. There are shifts always going on. The political shifts are very fast these days. So that experience is very important to follow the development on the geopolitical front. Even with our neighbor Guyana, there are some shifts and views. Building a bridge, we have a territory in the south which we actually know as a disputed. That is, good neighbors should be able to solve that. But with all this development, people say, why not build a bridge between Suriname and Guyana? So that becomes a different issue. But you say we have a dispute. What does that in relation to a bridge? So all these experiences as vice president, as acting president, you use that to leverage and say, okay, what will be the next phase of development? And because you have built a center, you have built all the situation, it's far more easy to go about saying, I'm in Dominican Republic now, I've seen everything, we've talked, we've got to know each other, let's start doing some things. Let's make some things happen. That's what I want to do, very pragmatically make things happen. What I would do is in this phase just expand on and really get things happen on what I've already invested in geopolitically and my diplomatic relations. I think locally, some things in the constitution need to be changed to be able to do more effective policy execution. You need more control. For example, in your state-owned companies, more transparency, more open government. Because of that, I started in 2015 to describe what the government exactly is. Products, services, processes. So you can get this law going, how the government is institutionalized, and say, we want to make a more lean government, but we need to know exactly how many people need to produce these products and services for government. These are the processes, the people that we need, so we can make it more lean but the people need to have jobs in the private sector. So you have to define how you make autonomous bodies for regulation for more private sector development. So that's one thing I would use, because my experience was in that, in describing making government more lean. I want to expand on that and say, let's do it. Let's finish this describing of government very strictly and say lean, and then describe the authority that can promote private sector. Industrial parks will bring so much investors, they will bring in so much technology. Why not create more jobs? The two main things actually is to grow your GDP, to get more employment, right? So I will use that experience to expand on it. What I would not do anymore, I would say I would change. Actually, so what I would change is change the system between president and vice president, and get something going that will be more effective, and decentralizing government, of course, deconcentration of government.
Eso daría más estabilidad política también.
Stability is important. Open government is important. Lean government is important. With this development that is coming our way, in oil and gas only, you need to be able to facilitate a lot of expertise, and you have to have a lean government for that. You have to be a strong private sector for that, to be able to attract investors and say, this is a very good private sector space for us to expand Suriname from our own country, for example, Dominican Republic. So those changes have to change. My experience is a lot of in these kinds of topics, so I will use that experience from my vice presidency and expand it to my presidency.
O sea que podemos decir que usted fortalecería las relaciones internacionales y localmente cambiaría el sistema de ayuda y de servicios públicos para los ciudadanos. Básicamente sería lo que usted tendría como en la mente cuando sea presidente.
We are a small global community. If you can travel so fast to any country, you can communicate live through video conference. It's more than, I think, logical that we can get in, and everybody seems like you're with family. So strengthening diplomatic relations is, I think, that has to happen on another scale. If we send out people, they have to be attaches that lobby very well. Strengthen diplomatic relations, but for the growth of your own people, for the growth of the GDP, for getting more expertise in to specialize your own people for the economic growth that is coming. So in that sense, we want to strengthen diplomatic relations, but then tailored to growth that we want to see in Suriname itself.
Sí, para eso sería siempre oportuno que los presidentes elijan buenos embajadores que sepan vender su país y sepan captar lo que el país necesita. Siempre eso es muy importante, porque a veces un presidente elige personas que no son las adecuadas y no hacen el trabajo que tienen que hacer. Y al final, pues eso lo que hace va en detrimento del país.
Yeah.
O sea que eso es muy, muy importante.
Exactly.
Surinam es uno de los países con mayor cobertura forestal del mundo. Enfrenta varios problemas, cuenta con emisiones de carbonos negativas. Ya sufre una deforestación de aproximadamente un 7% anual debido a la minería ilegal. ¿Qué planes tendría usted para solucionar, para amedrentar esse problema?
So actually we have about 93% reforested, and we're the number one in the world as Suriname. We want to keep it that way. So any illegal mining that is there should be reduced to deforestation, of course, and you have to use new methods. We got this method with the mercury that you can use, or any other thing that you can use to limit deforestation would be good. So newer methods, newer kind of ideas. are very important. You see, even in logging, when you do wood cutting with logging, we have one of the world's best systems to log so much acres. You can only log so as part of that for the tree logging and cutting. So we use newest methods, best methods. If illegal mining seems to expand too much, we'll have to cope with that in the sense that we need new methods, or not in areas where there's too much forest, or you have to be able to use that forest. So that is always a challenge, but we don't see it as that you see a percentage. Although you could say on a quantitative level, it seems to be much, but in percentage wise, it's not that much as of yet, and we have to be able to contain it.
Si fuéramos a ordenar los países en función de su índice de desarrollo humano, Surinam se encuentra en el puesto 100 del ranking de desarrollo humano, teniendo en cuenta 3 variables: vida larga y saludable, conocimientos y nivel de vida. En su gobierno, ¿qué más aportaría para mantener ese nivel de desarrollo?
So we have in the health sector, we have some problems right now, although the past few years there is a degradation in the health sector. So that has to be, we have to act together when it comes to that sector. That is just being blunt and saying that we have been in a very good and high level of service in the health sector. We have to bring that back if you want to expect that people have a good life expectancy. So actually we are in a crisis right now when it comes to health. We have to get back to a good healthy system that increases your life expectancy and get some good service and health going on, decentralized. When it comes to education, we said, the whole system has to change, and one of the big changes that has to come is the language change. We are in a region, English, Spanish are now world languages, and we have a language of Dutch, and we can keep Dutch, of course, but to be able to integrate and adopt and implement systems that are available more easily in English, more easily in Spanish, you have to change the language as well. Changing meaning, adopting extra languages like English and Spanish in your system as to be used in schools as a formal language, English, Spanish, so you can adopt systems of education more easily, implement them, and not be struggling with the Dutch language too much to change the education system. You see, I've been Minister of Education, Culture and Science for almost 3 years in a term before my vice presidency. So I know, and I've seen educational systems take a long time, 7 to 10 years to change and implement. So you have to make a very clear choice. Can I adopt fast? Can I implement new languages formally so that the education system gets benefit? The second part of this is the economical side of the part, is that you have more vocational, technical and vocational training, because the oil sector will need a lot of people. So we need more technical people, more vocational training. So that side of education, we need another system that we call National Vocational Qualification System. I've made a law, I've devised that law, and it was passed 4 or 5 years ago, that gives you a system that you can more easily qualify people as a national level. This is the level of technical people you need. For the oil sector, it's very important. We need now to know what the labor market needs for that 2028 development. So educational level, I know exactly, that's actually also my area of expertise, what should be done, and I hope that I can implement them as fast as possible.
Dicen que la educación es la base del conocimiento. ¿Qué haría usted para insertar la tecnología en su gobierno? ¿Cómo expandiría la tecnología?
So as a technical person, you can only say adopt and absorb as much of technological development and innovation as possible. Now we have artificial intelligence now going on. We have system of this international connectivity, high bandwidth. You can do almost anything from distance. New learning systems are there for people to absorb knowledge very fast. So anything that gets automation running, anything that gets technology adopted for government, example, only government, if you look at government becomes transparent, government becomes efficient. You remove all the inefficiencies from systems when you start adopting technology. You're faster, efficient, more knowledge absorbing. So it is a catalyst. For me, technology is a catalyst. There are two things I would change in Surinam to get Surinam out of isolation. That's one of my points that I always mention. We have to get Surinam out of isolation. Is to change the language. We are in a region of English, Spanish, to adopt more technology so that things become efficient and more fast and more open, more transparent, and for people to be able to see what government is doing more openly. You have to use technology. The processes are out there. And of course, when you use technology, you need less people for the same job, and you can do more productive jobs in the private sector. So I promote anything with technology and for people to be able to bring more technology.
Al 2023, el Producto Interno Bruto de Surinam en poder adquisitivo es de 12,000 millones de dólares. ¿Cómo planean mejorar ese rango?
So GDP growth is for any president, any politician, you should be able to focus on growth. Every term, at the end of the term, you should say, this is what I contributed to GDP. That's the whole thing about this. Giving people well-being means growing your economy, growing your living standards. And you cannot grow your living standards if you're not doing something on productivity. So productivity growth, GDP growth is what we strive for. If you look at the oil and gas sector, we will almost double in 10 years. No double, quadruple, actually 5 times to 7 times within 10 years. The GDP, actually the budget only will go right, maybe 7 to 10 times when it comes to oil and gas. So when the jobs that you'll create, the product services that you'll create through the oil and gas sector, the multiplier effect, the spin-off of that will be an automatic growth. So what is coming at us, it's not that we say we should work towards it only, but it's inevitable that the GDP will explode. The budget will explode. The thing is, how can you cope with that it will not overheat and that there is no more corruption, and you have systems in place to channel that money, to channel that growth to other sectors, diversifying your portfolio, agriculture, tourism, because if it's only on oil and gas and prices go down because of volatility, then you get a crisis. So the thing is more of strategy, your development strategy to cope with this growth that will be coming, that is inevitable. How can you channel that growth to be able to foster labor, your own people as laborers, get them more technological advanced, maybe make more technological advanced products, because you don't want them to go in all one sector. You have to diversify to other sectors, use more technology in tourism, more high-tech things producing here in Surinam. So to be able to channel that growth is more important. That means diversifying. That means looking at your labor market, because the growth will come. Whatever you do, the growth will come. This is a historic event. We have been investing from the 1980s in the oil industry. Now we're starting with the production in 2028. GDP growth, it will be huge.
Señor Adhin, Surinam es un país en desarrollo donde la economía está más basada en la exploración de productos como la bauxita, el oro, agricultura, ¿qué porcentaje es especialmente por la parte del petróleo?
Yeah, so the oil and gas industry contributes, I think 7% is the oil industry only. And then we have a lot of gold and the other natural resources. So that is the contribution of oil.
Se espera que la producción de petróleo en Surinam comience a finales del 28. ¿Cuáles son los planes locales e internacionales que pudiera tener para la comercialización de ese rubro?
Yeah, so that is an interesting question. You see, when we have to refine if we can export HFO, it's an option. You can refine it also, and that is the question: who will we partner with? And I've talked to people here in Dominican Republic with great ideas about how we can cope with that. And more refinement, of course, is possible when you look at a petrochemical plant and you say, we need to have that also. You think about agriculture, you think about urea that you can make from this petrochemical processing. So you have to go higher up the scale, further up the chain. So anything that is processing is interesting for Surinam. That can contribute more to the GDP. So we can go and say, okay, the oil is not only raw exports, we can develop that. We use generators, so we use ourselves the HFO for the energy generation. But when you get gas, then you can say, okay, I want to make energy from gas, it is cheaper. So in that sense, it will be a very interesting development, and I think the relation with Dominican Republic can be a eye-opener and a facilitator for us to make better energy efficiency, getting more in the GDP for our from this sector, hydrocarbons and so on, but also getting the knowledge in. Yeah, like I said, with such a economy, you get heating, overheating, you can get a resource curse. The expertise you need to train your own people in that. We have very good experience 40 years, but this will be on a whole other level. Knowledge about gas. And since we need to grow as an economy, we need more contribution of GDP. And I think gas will be extend the energy capacity to at least 200 to 500 megawatts to facilitate growth and get the energy component growing.
Con lo que ha llegado a conocer de República Dominicana, en sentido general, ¿qué relación puntuable cree que pueda hacer con República Dominicana que fortalecería a ambos países?
The first thing I think about is industrial parks, free trade zones. If you want to have a growth, you want to have it such that you can get a diversification of your portfolio in your growth, not only oil and gas. To be able to facilitate this diversification, you want to have to get investors in foreign direct investment. To be able to facilitate them, you need some benefits, fiscal, energy, water management, is everything available. So industrial parks, free trade zones with benefits is the first thing you would think about when you come to Dominican Republic and say, this is what I would want to have for Suriname to be able to grow and learn from. The second one will be, of course, tourism. But I can go on and on with the Dominican Republic. What I've seen here with the energy development, what energy technological development that I see here, data-driven systems, people have control over their energy consumption, prepaid systems. I think that these areas are areas of interest because you can have energy. You can have 200 and 500 megawatts, but is your grid able to distribute that capacity? And the Dominican Republic has good examples of how this is done technological wise. So the people in themselves, I see also another relation with the Dominican people. You see, when we go outside Suriname, we don't say we are from African descent, or we say we're from Indian descent. we say we are Surinamese. I see the same with Dominican people. Like they don't say I'm from Spanish descent or I'm Jewish or they say we're Dominican.
No.
So that was one thing that interested me. I said we can bond as people very easily because we have the same attitude. We are more nationalistic, more proud of our Surinamese being Surinamese, and we are proud of being Dominican. As we are.
Somos donde nos hemos desarrollado, donde hemos hecho vida.
So maybe we need more tourists from Dominican Republic and Suriname, and we need more collaboration of expertise coming from Dominican Republic to Suriname, and I think they will understand this culturally better. So exchange of expertise and getting more diplomatic relations, strengthening is, I think.
En temas de energía, ¿cómo funciona en Surinam el servicio energético a nivel industrial y a nivel doméstico?
So on a household level, you have we still don't have a full full-fledged system grid. Not everybody has the energy that they would have, especially in interiors. They have maybe you have 200 villages for indigenous people, Maroons people. Everybody wants energy. Everybody wants to have television. Everybody wants to have Wi-Fi. But that the energy there, you have diesel motors.
Es que no es que todo el mundo quiera, es que todo el mundo merece en un país tener esos servicios.
Exactly. So, but people have not gotten energy for so long that you can say they.
No es un lujo, es una necesidad.
Just like you said, they deserve that. So it is logical, exactly as you said. But to get the energy there is a challenge. Do you want to have a remote 100 kilometers far and say, will we build the grid till that? Or do you want to use alternatives of solar panels and get them prepaid systems so they can have control over their own energy? When right now they use diesel generators and generators to get their energy, and that is not 24-hour energy. So these are challenges for the grid domestically. O
sea, no hay sistemas alternativos para suplir la energía a los consumidores.
On small scale, you have a few companies that do maybe well in solar. A lot of companies test, but on a large scale, feeding the grid with even the grid has to be optimized to be able to get this consumption instead of consumption only. To add to the grid, it should be data driven. You should be able to troubleshoot, and then you can say, okay, alternative energy sources can add to the grid. So the grid has to be very optimized technologically. And then people can say, oh, I'm stimulated to do solar. I'm stimulated to do biomass energy. I get motivated to do windmills, for example. So the incentives have to be there for people to say, if I build windmills, if I build solar, I can contribute to the grid. I can earn it from something. But it is supported by the technology of the grid and of the system domestically.
¿Qué porcentaje del consumo de energía el gobierno subvenciona al pueblo?
Subsidize. Yeah. I think we subsidize, but in this program, the past 4 years, the subsidy has dropped. Not the way I think it should have dropped, but the energy subsidy itself, you can say, it's always good to say you subsidize the less people that needed more, and you will charge with higher consumers, of course. You have always strategies. But giving people energy and giving people diesel for generators is also a subsidy. You deliver that in liters, of course, to villages in the interior. It's also a kind of subsidy. But now subsidy has gone very low. The question is that healthy? Is that beneficial? And we have to be incentivize people that are don't have opportunities in cities, don't have opportunities in suburbs, in the villages.
Siempre habrá personas que el gobierno tendrá que darle una mano ayuda, no solamente con temas de energía, sino con temas de salud y con temas de alimentación. Señora Adhin, si pudiéramos elegir 3 aspectos de todo lo que usted tiene en mente que puede hacer para mejorar la calidad de vida de los suraminenses, ¿cuáles serían los 3 primeros aspectos que usted le daría más importancia, más dedicación y lograría que se hiciera y que se lograra y se viera en el menor tiempo posible una mejoría para los ciudadanos?
If you look at the life of the citizens, the first thing you have to think about is getting the living standard up. In getting the living standard up, you have to have employment running. They have to have a job, a decent job. But then again, for the job, they need the health service to be good. Their education needs to be good, and the security needs to be good. So the first thing you say, okay, do they have a good life expectancy, living standards? Do they feel safe? Are they healthy? And are they well educated? So in these
y están alimentados también.
Yeah, well fed, but to give them a good living standard, the purchasing power has to be good, and to have that you have to have a good GDP growth, so that people can get some motivation incentives by government to say, good job, get a good education, finance students for loans for education, finance the health sector to get people more health, so they are healthy workers. So in that sense, it is very integrated. But the first thing I would say is good jobs, because now you cannot have too big of a government. It has to be lean. People have to be. The second would be to be healthy and to have a good education. So those 3 are. You can name any setup, but it is so well integrated, and you want to have well-being for everybody. You want everybody to have a good living standard, but then you have to invest. They have to invest in themselves, saying, I want good education, I want to be healthy, I want to have a good job, means the government saying, private sector, we should develop, I want foreign direct investment, I want industry park. You see, everything is connected. So that's policy, and you have to make clear policy about targets. This is the percentage of growth that I want every year after the oil comes in from agricultural sector, tourism sectors. Then people know, oh, there is a growth. I have to be part of that growth. What do I have to learn? What skills do I have to learn to come in tourism? That's something interesting for us. And not only becoming a government civil worker, that can be a goal. And children want to, and now the youth want to go in all kinds of sectors. We are on TikTok, we are on YouTube, we are looking at so many things they want to do. Do they have the freedom to choose what work they want to have? To be able to get the freedom, we should say, diversify the economy, get so many different jobs running so that the youth is interested to get their own passion going.
Y finalmente, ¿por qué elegirlo usted para que sea el presidente de Surinam?
I think 2 things that come to mind directly is I call it the promise of politics. The past 40 years has not been fulfilled. To be able to get any future development, you have to have a good fundament. The fundament is not well structured. We're a colony, our capital was a small port. There is no structured plan, there's no planning system. I'm somebody that structures, that puts planning into place so that I can see things that grow in value. That's what I think I bring to the table. I oversaw the planning bureau. My thing is we have to good centralized planning, plan for a future for 40 years. That has been missing. Every politician, when you ask them, give me a plan, they don't have a real plan. So when I made the plan with a very, very smart people in 2017 till 2001, the development plan, national development plan, I saw how important it was to plan for the future. So I bring planning, I bring structure, I think a fundamental that all this that comes as money, as development, can have a good lift. Without a good fundamental structures of planning and what do you want as investors, making structure for industrial parks, getting tourism, structuring and such to write legislation. So structure is something that structuring and organizing government. The second thing I will say is experience. In a short time of 11, 12 years, I've been on so many missions around the world. And the world is bigger than Surinam. That's what I say. And when you go outside, you come here in the Dominican Republic, you hear so much development, you see so much experience that people have been struggling to develop their country. And I've seen so many countries, so many experience, so many interesting and creative people around the world having solutions that we can adopt in Surinam. So that experience that I have, geopolitically, economy developing, and of course the experience in government that I've been in. I've been minister, I've been vice president, I've been acting president. So that is a momentum that builds up and say, I have the ideas to make the whole change, that we can finally get a good planning running, a good plan for the future running. And he has the experience in politics to do that. So we have a political side and a technical side that I think I have much more advantage and I'm far ahead of others. So if the country gives me the opportunity, the people give me the opportunity, again, I think my age is also an age of a mid-generation that is now the working class, the middle class. We hold the economy in place. We put it on the responsibility on our shoulders. So I feel what the middle class is feeling. That is now marginalized because of the crisis. That's why I feel I'm very connected to this age group, to facilitating development and having the experience at the same time. That's what I think the reasons are.
Si yo fuera votante de Surinam, claro que tuviera muy en cuenta aspectos como lo que ha mencionado. Para mí, como persona, como ente de la sociedad, me interesaría que tuviera un candidato la experiencia, que tuviera una idea clara de lo que quiere, una idea estructurada, una estrategia y que tuviera la fuerza y la voluntad de entender el mundo que estamos viviendo. Eso para mí serían aspectos primordiales. Así es que yo le deseo mucho éxito y seguro que nos vamos a ver cuando usted sea presidente. Gracias por estar con EH.
Thank you again. Thank you.